Okay, so I'm sure you all know who this guy is.
I don't really believe in lesbians, by the way.
If you don't, that's Big Dog Jordan Peterson. And I'm just going to assume you know this guy's book, 12 Rules for Life. This book did so much for me, and I know it's a cliche to say things like, oh, this book changed my life, but it honestly did. It was my first exposure to so many things that I'm still deeply interested in now, roughly 4 years after first reading this. Things like neuroscience, psychology, particularly Jungian psychology, symbolism in myths, and generally positive lessons and pieces of advice that still influence me to this day. I don't know if there's already heaps of videos out there talking about lessons from this book, and quite frankly, I don't care. I wanted an excuse to go back to this book and sift through what I found most helpful, and distill that into a video, not only to maybe help someone else, but also to help myself. So I'd say easily the most valuable thing I learned from this book was this. Facing your fears makes you stronger, and running away from your fears makes you weaker. This might sound obvious on the surface, but it clearly isn't, because there's still far too many people that run away from their fears, myself included. Whether it's going for a job interview, talking to a stranger, asking a girl out, literally anything else anxiety inducing in the modern world, the idea that running away from whatever you're afraid of makes you weaker, and confronting whatever you're afraid of makes you stronger is always true. Your fears, whatever they are, can only be overcome by voluntarily facing them. Running away from a job interview because you're nervous will just make the next interview you get seem twice as scary, and you'll be twice as nervous because you cowered from the last interview, which then makes you feel weaker and simultaneously makes the interview itself seem more frightening. It's the same with talking to strangers or asking a girl out. You sit and wait while you debate with yourself in your head about whether you're going to talk to that person or not, or you psych yourself out of doing it and then slink away. The next time you're in a situation where the same opportunity pops up, you'll remember the last experience you had where you buckled and ran away, which will then make you feel weaker and make the idea of talking to a stranger or asking a girl out seem even more frightening and impossible. Carl Jung knew this too. He had a Latin saying, but I can't speak or read Latin, so we're just going to go with the English translation. That saying was, "In filth it will be found." And what he meant by this is essentially, what you need most will be found where you least want to look. I'll make another video talking more in depth about Jungian concepts that I very loosely understand in the future. But for now, just remember that saying. So yeah, don't run away from what frightens you. Choose to face it instead. The second most valuable lesson is, George Bush did 9/11. No, wait, that's not it. What I meant to say was, the second most valuable lesson is, the future can be made better if the proper sacrifices are made in the present. This is a powerful idea, and so true in every aspect of life. If you want to get in shape, you have to sacrifice the comfort of chilling on your couch all day for the discomfort of pushing yourself in the gym. And you have to sacrifice the pleasure of eating whatever you want, when you want, for a healthy and nutritious diet that is nowhere near as tasty as garbage food is. If you want to overcome your social anxiety, then you have to sacrifice the comfort of chilling in the safety of your house. To put yourself into new, scary social situations with new people. You have to sacrifice feeling comfortable by yourself for being uncomfortable around others when you first meet them. You have to sacrifice your comfort zone and to push through potentially awkward moments with people, and there's no other way to get over your social anxiety. And how this lesson applies to me, I think, is if I ever want to end my dry spell and get over my fear of rejection and my fear of making a move, then I have to sacrifice my own comfort for the nerve-wracking, anxiety-inducing process of approaching girls, talking to them, asking them out, potentially facing rejection, actually going out with the ones who don't reject me, and not letting my self-loathing thoughts stop me from making a move when I have a chance to, like I have many times in the past, and deeply, deeply regret. There's no other way around it. That sacrifice must be made. In other words, you have to sacrifice who you are now, or at least sacrifice parts of who you are now, in order to become a better version of yourself. I'll finish this part of the video by reading some quotes from the book about this idea. Something better might be attained in the future by giving up something of value in the present. What's the difference between the successful and the unsuccessful? The successful sacrifice. The future can be made better if the proper sacrifices take place in the present. The last idea / lesson I'm going to talk about today is this. Do not be willfully blind. If you're willfully blind towards things in your life that bother you, it doesn't make those things go away. It only means that you've put up blinders to the issue, and by doing that you allow the issue to grow and grow until eventually you're blindsided by something that destroys you. Imagine this. You've been seeing a girl for a while and you go out one night and notice she's being a little too friendly with another guy. But instead of calmly addressing it, you ignore it and stuff your emotions down because you don't want to have the fight. Then the situation ends, you go on with your night and everything seems fine after that. Then a few weeks, months or even years later, suddenly you find out that the girl slept with that guy behind your back, perhaps multiple times, and now you're utterly devastated and emotionally wrecked. How could this have happened? You ask yourself. The answer is simple. You chose not to see the signs, or you saw the signs but chose to ignore them and pretend they weren't there in order to save yourself from the discomfort of a fight. Maybe if you addressed the issue when you first noticed it, you could have set a boundary that showed the girl that you weren't willing to accept that behaviour from her, and you would leave if she continued. Maybe then she would have been far less likely to continue flirting with the other guy because she knew that you wouldn't accept that from her. Maybe she wouldn't have put herself in more situations where she could flirt with the other guy. And maybe the whole thing could have never happened if you had just addressed it when you first noticed it. Obviously, even if you did address it, she could still sleep with the other guy. You can never 100% guarantee that something like that won't ever happen in a relationship. But you can minimise the chances of infidelity happening partly by not being willfully blind to early signs of said infidelity and calmly and respectfully addressing it, and not doing a Mel Gibson going crazy on the phone to his ex-wife.
I will never forgive you for what you've done to me, you
You ruined my life, and you didn't give me a penny.
First, I ruined your life.
It's more complicated than that, obviously, and even then, you still cannot 100% guarantee that a girl won't cheat on you. But I think my point is clear. Basically, being willfully blind to anything that bothers you will screw you over in the end. So they're the most valuable lessons I've learned from 12 Rules for Life. I cannot overstate how much this book changed me, or how much of a positive snowball effect it had on all aspects of my life. I wouldn't have gone deep into personal development. I wouldn't have got sober. I wouldn't have got fit. I wouldn't have delved into psychology and neuroscience and learned so much about humans, the world, and reality as a whole. I wouldn't have discovered what career I want in life. I wouldn't have created the drastic changes in my life that I have if I didn't read this book. And I'm genuinely grateful for Jordan Peterson writing this and helping me set myself on the right path. Anyway, that's about it for now. So like the video and subscribe if you liked it.